Let's see, you should feel comfortable now with how rum is made, how the rums are classified, and how to properly taste rums. You've learned about rum's history and some trivia. You should be comfortable with some of the terminology at this point. Now it's time to put all these areas together and communicate, or elucidate, to other potential rum lovers. Now, instead of just winging it in the conversation, what we've done is we've put together a basic formula for you while you're communicating with others to keep you on track. This should ensure that you're on the same page with the other person while not missing any vital elements that could help in the rum selections. The formula is pretty simple to remember. Rums. The R stands for relate. You first need to establish some credibility with a person to open up a conversation or to gain the other person's undivided attention. They need to view you not only as a credible source that they respect and trust, but as somebody that has their best interests at heart. This is the basics of any good relationship if you think about it. So, how do we relate with them, especially if we have a very short, limited period of time to do it in? Well, there have been a lot of studies out there on the development of relationships. One of these is the DISC, D-I-S-C, personality types. Now, how exactly does this apply to communicating rum? Well, in a nutshell, we tend to communicate to others based on our own personality types. If the other person's personality type is different, then the communication may be inhibited or kind of difficult. Basically, the two of you just aren't on the same page. DISC divides the personality types into 4 very distinct categories. Now, there's a couple of important factors to consider, though, while you look at them. First, look, there's no right or wrong category. Don't worry about which one you fit into. And 2, you will have certain characteristics or traits from all the categories. That's normal. You share a lot of those. However, there really should just be one of the categories that you really more closely fit with, that fits your personality. As we go through these, try to see which one that you feel sort of sums up your personality type. Kind of stand back and take a look at it that way. So in no particular order, we'll start with D, which stands for dominance. Now, this person tends to be more direct and dominate conversations. They don't like idle chit-chat, and they want to distill things quickly and get to the bottom line. They can be opinionated at times and confrontational. Sometimes they even relish in it. Now, the I, that stands for influential, which is they're always the life of the party. They thrive on interaction and discussion. They're always enthusiastic, optimistic, love to share stories. They're impulsive by nature. They really, really like to talk and can easily spend hours at times just doing that. The S refers to steadiness. This person really cares for their fellow human beings. Often they put others' needs ahead of their own. They're excellent listeners, and they're extremely reliable. Now, confrontation is very uncomfortable to them, and they will actually go out of their way to avoid it. Now, the C type is conscientious. By nature, they're very analytical and skeptical at times. They're not very impulsive, and they're usually pretty slow about making decisions until they've got all the data and that's been deciphered. Now, they can be extremely loyal, though, once the numbers all kind of add up. In keeping with the Rummelier spirit, look, it's not about us, it's about them. So what you should be doing is actively seeking out some clues that may help you determine their personality type when you meet them. Now, you may have known them for years, but have you actually become attuned to their communication personality style? Let's take a quick look at how you should interact with the various personality types. If you're a D personality, now as hard as this may be, you should let the I person just talk away. Let the C person analyze, and be careful though about dominating the conversation with the S person. Basically, just be patient. Unless you're with another D, and then you can both just quickly sum up the rum. Now, if you're an I personality, try to limit that chattiness when interacting, especially with a D personality. Just get to the point. Give them the abridged, the Cliff Notes version. Brevity is key. Avoid sharing the long story about the rum's history to the C personality type. Instead, maybe concentrate on how the rum was distilled or some specific information about its verifiable characteristics. That's what they're looking for. Ask more questions about the S person's preferences. The conversations between two I personality types will probably be extremely entertaining and last for hours. Now, if you're an S personality type, be careful about sharing how the rum makes you feel too much with a D or a C personality types. They don't really get that. What they want to know is they want to know the bottom line. Again, the I-type personalities love the stories. The conversation will probably continue for a long time. Now, if you're in conversation with another S personality type, just make sure to ask some questions that elicit or get some conversational responses back from them. Now, be careful about diving too deep into the weeds if you're a C personality type. Hey, look, data is very important to you. However, it's probably going to bore the person that's an I type. Don't be alarmed if they begin to insert themselves in the conversation. They'll cut you off. The same holds true for a D personality type, although expect to see signs of impatience, though, if you're discussing the intricate details of the open air fermentation process and yeast selection. It's probably going to bore them a little bit. Instead, give them the abridged version. When interacting with the S personality, they may seem interested in your data analysis, but they're probably too conscientious to stop you. If you are with another C personality type, have fun. Share all the data that you want. Now, as we mentioned earlier, communication will open up if you just simply adjust the conversation to their style. It also will go a long way to establishing that credibility with them, and then they'll begin to trust in your ability then to guide them to the rum that best is a best fit for them. Now, by nature, we tend to endorse rums that we personally like. In fact, I actually become a little depressed if somebody doesn't positively react to my favorite rums. Now, this leads us to the U in rums, which is understand their preferences. Conversational question is the key to this part. You know, a great bridge question from R to U is to ask a simple sort of level setting question such as, hey, tell me a bit about your experience with rums. Now, if the response is kind of along the lines of, I love pina coladas and mojitos, nothing beats a good rum and coke, then we should be tipped off that we may want to be a bit lighter and a little more high level with our questioning at that point. Remember, one of our rummelier rules, don't be a snob. Now, being condescending will only alienate them, and the conversation will then get shut down. Some of us have some very strong opinions about rums, but remember, our role is not to decide, but to help guide through non-confrontational education. We can continue establishing a rum baseline, though, with a follow-up question such as, what do you find that you like about rum? Now, if you're familiar with wines, maybe ask, what type of wine do they typically drink? Is it more of a dry or a sweet wine? Is it lighter or heavier? You can see where we're headed on this, right? Do they prefer spirits such as whiskeys? Do they typically add sweeteners to their tea or coffee? Do they like sodas, or do they stick more to water? Spicy foods or bland foods? Are they adventurous and like to try things that are a little bit off the beaten path? Again, we're going to be able to use this when it comes time for making suggestions in the MS portion of rums. Now, during the understand phase, and we're simply guiding the conversation to become sort of attuned to their likes and dislikes. Don't make it feel like an interrogation, though. Just pay attention to their level of comfort with the questions. If their rum knowledge level appears to be a bit higher, let's find out some specific examples of rums that they've tried and find out why do they like that specific rum. Once you feel comfortable that you have a grasp on their preferences, it's time to move on to the make suggestions phase. Based on that information that we've uncovered, along with the tasting notes that you have, you should be able to suggest a rum that will hopefully kind of hit the mark. First though, let's make sure that we clarify that we understand their taste preference by repeating back the information that we've collected from them. An example would be something along the lines of, hey, it sounds to me that you tend to gravitate to more sweeter tastes that have a lot of flavor. Is that right? If they agree with that assessment, then you can proceed along with your suggestion. It's a very important thing now, though, to inform them why you're suggesting this particular rum. For example, it goes something like this. I think the DR Rum Exclusiva would be right up your alley since it tends to be higher on the sweet and flavorful side. Is that correct? Now, don't be offended if the response to the rum that you've suggested is not as glowing as you would have anticipated after they've tried it, though. This is a great opportunity, though, for you to fine-tune your rum suggestions. Maybe ask them, was this one a little too sweet or maybe a little too dry? Was the alcohol punch maybe a little too intense? Was the flavor off? And why? Let rums be your guide. Relate, understand, and make suggestions. You know, one of the true pleasures in life to me is sharing something that you're really passionate about with someone else that shares or maybe will eventually share that same passion. As with everything in life, it's about enjoying the adventure and the journey. Rum is much more than just an alcoholic beverage to me. It's about interaction all the way through the process, from the yeast interacting during the fermentation, the interaction of heat and the fermented product during distillation, the interaction of the distilled rum and the barrel, the master blender interacting with the aged rum to create that perfect blend, until finally our interaction with others as we enjoy the greatest spirit, rum. Cheers.